one man's opinion. Today I am reviewing the new off-Broadway play LOWCOUNTRY, written by Abby Rosebrock, directed by Jo Bonney, and running through July 13th at the Atlantic Theater Company's Linda Gross Theater at 336 West 20th Street in New York City. Pour yourself a glass of whatever pleases you and come and visit my Patreon page where you can, for as little as $1 a month, support this channel and my classic cinema podcast, Yesterday's Matinee. Patrons get early access to the latest podcast episode and quick reviews of episodes you see here. Thank you to my current patrons, especially my Neo and Hamilton tier patrons, and welcome to the new ones. Links to my Patreon and podcast pages will be in the description. Abby Rosebrock has written a challenging story here, which is part rom-com, part drama, that will enlighten and challenge its audience, and if the intent of theater is to do these things, which I believe it does, then LOWCOUNTRY achieves all of it. But, and this is a but of Kardashian proportions, as much as LOWCOUNTRY achieves challenging its audience, it may disturb it, or worse, disgust it in all the wrong ways as well. This will be entirely dependent upon each individual audience member's position towards the play's subject matter and how much consternation the play draws up within you. Set in a small apartment in Moncks Corner, South Carolina, in the LOWCOUNTRY, as the play is titled, the play follows David, played by Babak Tafti, a registered sex offender who has been abstinent for a year since he started attending court-ordered Sexaholics Anonymous meetings. His sponsor, Paul, played by Keith Kuferer, though having given financial assistance to David in order to have David have a place to live, dictates David's life with a near iron fist, threatening to turn David over to the authorities if David should ever break his abstinence. One thing to remember is that Paul is also in SA and is dealing with his own sexual issues, which, though isn't explicitly talked about, I suspect at least partially agitates his attitude toward David, as a kind of projection, if you will. At the top of the play, David is lying to Paul about a rendezvous he plans to have with Tally, played by Jodi Balfour. David has promised that the meeting will be in a public place, when in reality, he's making dinner for her in his apartment. Rosebrock is selective about what information we are given about David. We know he's a sex offender, but we don't know what the offense was. Over the course of the play, we learn what he didn't do, right up until near the climax when we finally have revealed to us what offense he actually committed. She also slowly reveals information about Tally, who has her own secrets that motivate her in wanting to meet David privately, not publicly. In both instances, we have two damaged individuals who are desperate for healing in their own lives, but are so broken they risk damaging themselves even further by being in the same room together. One of the things that I really like about Rosebrock's writing is that she never gives in to expectations. A lot of what happens in the play subverts expectations of what we expect David to have done and what Tally's motivations are for being with her. Every time something happens, I start thinking, oh, is this going to be X? It's like we've seen that happen 100 times. No, she subverts it. She does something different. It's really smart writing. It's really good writing in regards to subverting audience expectation. As things are revealed, what we learn about the two will affect audience members in different ways. From Tally's attempted manipulations of David and her motivations behind them, and David's slow revelations about his offenses, Rosebrock challenges our perceptions of the stigma we put on people who are labeled as the worst of the worst, like sex offenders. This daring attempt will have divisive reactions. Some will understand and empathize with David in what Rosebrock is trying to say, but I suspect there will be others whose reaction will be abhorrence. I think both reactions are legitimate and justified. We all come with different stories and struggles, and this play will strike a nerve on us, either positively or negatively. One of the additional elements is Rosebrock's representation of David's 12-step program and its cultish behavior by its members, essentially violating the whole anonymity aspect of the group by threatening members with turning them into the authorities if they have relapses. Now, I've never been in a 12-step program, so I have no informed opinion as to how they really work and Rosebrock's representation of it in the play. I do know people who have participated in 12-step programs, and though they all have different opinions to the effectiveness of it, They have all expressed that it has helped them when they have felt like there was no one else who could understand what they were going through. Now, this may also just be Rosebrock's representation of this one specific group, and may not be representative of the whole. You'll have to ask her that. All I know is that this one group is apparently very negative and potentially destructive. I don't know how fast Rosebrock wrote this play, but there is a whole subplot about David being an immigrant who came into the country as an infant. As much as I appreciate the wanting to implement another level of conflict to the story by infusing a dash of politics and having David at risk of being deported by ICE if he violates the conditions of his agreement with the court, it feels like a late addition to the plot and doesn't add much except to increase the tension in the play's climax, which isn't really needed as the climax is quite brutal as it is without it. Regardless of whether or not you agree with LOWCOUNTRY's position regarding empathy towards sex offenders because of degrees of severity in the offense, the cast is excellent. Paul I won't get into as he doesn't show up physically until the end, and I don't want to spoil it, but most of the play revolves around the sexual tension between Tally and David. Balfour throws herself into the sensuality of the role with ravenous sexual energy, but she also tempers it with a fragility that betrays her sexual confidence. Her cracking open of her fragile defensive shell is one of the few moments of true tenderness in the play. Babak Tofty holds David's anxiety of knowing he's doing something he probably shouldn't be doing for 90 minutes straight. It's a fine line that he's walking on as an actor as he holds these secrets that the audience desperately wants to know. If he overplays it, we pass judgment for or against him too soon, but he holds us on the line with delicate precision. Arnulfo Maldonado's set is finely detailed, from the functioning kitchen set to the malfunctioning curtain rigging that David has to keep repairing to keep the bed out of sight from Tally when she arrives to avoid any undue temptation. These elements make the set become its own character in the play, and Maldonado does some excellent work. LOWCOUNTRY is not going to be for everyone. People who have strong visceral reactions towards sex offenders, regardless of the crime, will likely have difficulties with this play, and I completely empathize and respect anyone who would choose to avoid this play because of that. Also, people who are in 12-step programs or have family and friends who are in 12-step programs may take offense of the way that they are presented here as well. This play is designed to challenge people and our perceptions of traditional views on these matters, which I think Rosebrock, Bonney, and the cast do well. But it should be fair to say that not everyone who is challenged with this piece will embrace that. But I am only one man's opinion, so be sure to leave yours in the comments below. If you'd like to see LOWCOUNTRY, I'll leave a link in the description where you can get tickets. Also in the description will be links to my Patreon and podcast pages, as well as my social media handles where you can support my work. You can also support me by liking and sharing this review, subscribing to the channel, and clicking the notification bell to be alerted to future reviews. My next review will be the off-Broadway production of The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. Thank you for watching, and I will see you at the theater.